Hi, class. I want to talk about the role of peer evaluations in team success and career development. After I go through this short PowerPoint, I'm going to then go over the actual assignment for the peer evaluations, how you're graded on them, and how to actually complete them. Once you have viewed the video, then you will be able to access the actual surveys and complete them. So, first, what are peer evaluations? So, this is really just assessing how well the people in your team, how your classmates actually contributed to the project, what are some of their strengths, any areas for improvement. So, really just being able to assess your teammates and how well they did as far as the group project goes. These are important because they help to really provide a way to help you learn how to give feedback, how to take feedback, and this is something that's really going to impact how you show up as a dental assistant and how you work as a team in your dental office. So, when we're doing community based learning projects, we are working as a team, we are working with our community, we are needing to collaborate, and each person in the group really is essential to the overall success of the project. So we really want to make sure that everybody in the group is accountable. We want to make sure we're encouraging everyone to participate. Knowing that you are going to be evaluated by your peers typically gets people to show up in a more meaningful way as part of group projects. So that's why at the beginning of the project, I let everyone know that you will be doing peer evaluations, you will be evaluated. And so hopefully the hope is that that gets people that would normally not participate as much in a group project to participate a little bit more. It really helps you to be able to assess your own work and to be able to reflect on how you contributed to a project and how you functioned as far as your whole team goes. So, this really helps us to gain some self awareness. When we hear what other people feel like our strengths or areas for improvement are, it helps us to reflect on ourselves and see where we might be able to improve upon some of these areas. When we are assessing our peers, it really helps us to learn how to give constructive feedback. So, how do we, if a person on our team has an area for improvement, something that they maybe didn't do so well on in our group, how do we respectfully deliver that feedback to them? So, we want to just not say, you didn't show up, you didn't do this, you did this wrong. We want to say it in a more meaningful way that helps them to improve in the future. And then team dynamics, so really understanding how individual behaviors overall affect the group's outcomes. So, again, we are going to be working as teams in a dental office. By going through some of this reflective process, it really shows how each individual contributes to the overall success of not only a project, but of a dental office. So let's connect this to some of the themes that we've talked about in the course. So, professionalism. So, how do we be professional in a team setting? How do we deliver that feedback and take that feedback professionally and not get upset about things? Making sure we're communicating well. So, this is going to strengthen communication by forcing us to figure out how are we going to deliver some of this constructive feedback with respect for our teammates. And then really just showing that it's really important to have a good team in order to have a successful project. So, as far as our future careers, so again, we're working in teams and being a good team player. I mean, I would say most dental offices you talk to, most dentists you talk to, most employers, if you ask them what are like the top 3 skills they're looking for in a dental assistant, it's not being able to suction, it's not reviewing medical history, it's can you work as a good team member? That's going to be one of the top things. So, really making sure we can work as a team. And then receiving and giving feedback. So, when we are going to be getting feedback from our externships, we're going to be getting feedback from our future offices, from the dentists we work with, from our colleagues. We are going to get feedback. And it's really, really important that we are not taking that feedback in a negative way. We're seeing that as an opportunity for improvement and really able to like reflect on that. Like, this person is saying something that I could be improving on. Let me really think about how I could do that. Let me really reflect on that, as opposed to saying, oh, they're wrong, or they don't know what they're talking about, or they just don't like me. Really kind of being able to do some of that self reflection work. So how are we going to do peer evaluations in this course? So what we're going to do is the first step is that you're going to complete a survey on D2L for each of your teammates. So you're going to evaluate both their contributions, their areas for improvement, and how they worked as a team. There's going to be some multiple choice questions, but then there's also going to be written responses that you'll have to write as well. And then the third step is going to be reviewing feedback you receive and reflecting on how it can help you improve. So you will be receiving feedback, and I'll talk about how that all goes down when I review the actual assignment instructions. So effective feedback techniques. We want to make sure when we're giving feedback that we are honest about it and we're specific. We don't want to just be nice because these are our teammates. It's really, really important that we give constructive feedback. We let people know how they can improve. If people are constantly told that they're just doing a great job all the time, they're going to believe they're doing a great job and they're not going to see a need to improve. So being really honest about these areas for improvement is super important. And we want to be specific. We don't want to just say, this person just didn't contribute or didn't do a great job. The person might not know that they weren't contributing or that they didn't do a good job. So we need to be really specific about it. When we say this person didn't contribute, we could say, this person's role was to do this research. This person didn't provide a lot of research, and another team member had to pick up that slack. Being really clear about what they did or didn't do that so that they can really reflect on that. Make sure that we are constructive in that feedback. So again, offering some solutions and things like actions that somebody can take to help improve. And then again, balancing praise and suggestions. They always say when you need to give someone negative feedback, you want to sandwich it in between two positive statements. So you want to always make sure that you are giving some positive praise and then some areas for improvement. So you want to kind of balance both the positive and the negative and how you're delivering that to your teammate. So common challenges when we're doing peer evaluations. Definitely fear of conflict. So you might hesitate to give negative or critical feedback because you're afraid that somebody's going to be mad at you or upset with you. You want to make sure that you're framing your feedback as a way that somebody can improve, not as a criticism. So again, really looking at how we can professionally and respectfully deliver that feedback. And then giving feedback that's too vague. So again, just saying somebody did a bad job or somebody did a good job doesn't really provide them a lot of value or areas to reflect on. So being really specific about the specific positive or negative behaviors and how that impacted you and the work you did in the group and the group overall, and maybe even the project as a whole. So some benefits of peer evaluations in community projects. Definitely helps to improve group performance. So again, when you know that you're going to be evaluated at the end of a project, it usually is going to help people perform a little bit better throughout that project. It's going to help to promote fair grading, so it helps me as an instructor really see everybody's individual effort based on the feedback that their teammates give. And then it helps to develop those professional skills. So it really helps to build skills as collaborating with a team. It helps you in communicating and giving feedback, and then also conflict resolution skills. So some of the things that we've done in our projects, there may have been some challenges, and how did we resolve those? And then again, going back and tying it into that career readiness aspect. So developing a growth mindset. So viewing feedback not as a negative, viewing it as an opportunity for improvement, and then carrying this mindset into your future dental assisting role. I remember I did my externship at Private Practice Office, and I was hired on at that office just immediately after my externship. And one thing that my dentist had said to me, like she gave me lots of feedback, positive and negative. But there was one thing, like I was like, whenever I set up like composites, I was always missing like one item every single time. And it was always a different item, whether it was I forgot to put out the etch or I forgot to put out the matrix band. I was always forgetting something. And, she was like, we need, she gave me this feedback, like, and I didn't say like, oh, well, what am I going to do? It's just like, I'm going to forget stuff. I actually created a system to help myself remember those things. And I would after every appointment, I would write down the specific item or items that I was missing that time. And through that process of writing those down for a period of probably a week after every appointment, I definitely learned to remember all of those items. So I didn't just take her feedback as a negative thing and brush it off and say, oh, what am I supposed to do about that? I took that as an opportunity to really reflect on what can I do to improve on this thing that I'm missing. And it really helped me to grow and to help me just to reflect on my overall performance. So examples of peer feedback in the workplace. So definitely dentists providing feedback on chairside techniques. So if you are, not super proficient at suctioning, the dentist might give you some feedback on that. Not taking that as a negative. Like, you're still learning, you haven't been doing it a long time, but if they're telling you some techniques to do, listen to those things and try those things. Sometimes we'll do team debriefs. So the whole team will do a debrief after a really complex procedure or something that maybe didn't go very well, and that's a way to give feedback to each other. And then we also do peer reviews during our clinical training. So you guys will be doing peer reviews during your externships and making sure that you are reflecting on those things as well. So again, peer reviews, they're just a really key part of learning as a group and then helping with our professional growth. We can use this opportunity in this class to really reflect on our strengths, how we contributed to our project, and different areas that we can grow and things that we maybe can improve upon. And then really developing ways to give constructive feedback that are going to help us when we go out into our careers. Not only do we need to be able to accept feedback and learn from it, but we are going to have times where we need to give feedback to our teammates as well. So learning how to do that in a really respectful and positive way. So our reminders, we are going to have our peer evaluations as well as the reflection paper. Those are both due on Monday. So it's this coming Monday, the 16th at midnight. So this is a different due date and time than usual. And it's really just to give me time to make sure I can get everything graded before the end of the week. There's no official final exam for this course. Your reflection paper is really the big kind of culminating project for this class. And then those peer evaluations are going to be due as well. So Monday at midnight. All right, so I want to go over the D2L page, and then I want to look at the actual peer evaluation instructions and how you're going to go through that. So on the week 10 module, we have the peer evaluation instruction link. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. We'll take a look at this together here. So again, this is really just designed to look at teamwork as well as individual contributions for our group projects. We're going to help identify everyone's strengths, areas for improvement, and what their overall role was and how they contributed to the project's success. So the instructions for the assignment, everyone's going to complete a peer evaluation survey for each group member, but not yourself. So you're not evaluating yourself, you're only evaluating your teammates. So if you were in a group of 4 people, you are going to submit 3 surveys. So 1 survey for each group member, and you have to do an individual survey for each person. You can't just do 1 survey that covers everyone. When you do your responses, they should be thorough, they should be thoughtful, and they should be honest. So I want some details. I don't want just general statements, and I want you to be honest. Your final grade for the assignment is going to be based 50% on the completion and the quality of surveys, and then the other 50% of your grade is the average peer evaluation score that you receive from your teammates. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. So 50% is the completion of the surveys you do, and then 50% of your grade is how your teammates actually scored you. So the submission requirements, you're going to complete the surveys on D2L. If you don't do the surveys, then that is obviously a deduction of points because you're graded on actually completing the surveys and how thorough they are. All of the surveys are going to be able to, I will be able to view those. The details of the surveys, so who completed the surveys, what points each person gave, and then the comments, you won't be able to see individual people's. Like if I did a survey for my classmate John, right? John cannot see that I did the specific survey. They're not going to see the way I scored them. They're not going to see that the comments were from me. What I do is I average the scores together that everyone does, and you're going to get an average. So if your teammates scored you an average of 3 out of 5, you're just going to see 3. And that means that somebody in your group maybe gave you a 5. Somebody maybe gave you a 1. Maybe everybody gave you 3s. You don't know, but you're going to see the average score that your group gave you. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take all of the comments that people write, both strengths as well as areas for improvement. I copy all of those comments over into AI, and I have AI just give me a really general summary of the comments. So you won't be able to tell somebody's voice or specifics from those comments. It'll all be just a general summary. I try to make it as anonymous as possible. I still think it's very important that you see the feedback that your classmates are giving you, because that's really part of this project. It's being able to accept the feedback, reflect on that feedback. So I will be providing it to you, but it will be in a generalized kind of summary format, as opposed to, these are the specific comments that were given. So again, the grading breakdown: survey completion and quality is 50%. So each survey that you complete, I'm going to grade it on thoroughness and how thoughtful your responses are. You'll be graded that you completed all the surveys, so 1 for each person in your group. And there's 25 points possible for that section. And then your average peer score. So the scores you receive from your teammates are going to be averaged, and they're going to be given to you as a final evaluation score. And then there are 25 points possible based on those average scores. So your final grade is a combination of those 2 sections: survey completion and the score from your peers. There is a little rubric down here for survey completion, so you can take a look at that. That's how I grade the actual surveys that you complete. All right, so then let's go ahead and take a look at the actual survey that you're going to do. So this is the peer evaluation survey. So the instructions here: complete this peer evaluation survey for each member of your group. So again, if you have 4 people in your group, you're going to submit this survey 3 different times. You can complete this multiple times. Your responses should be thoughtful and honest. You should provide feedback on contributions, strengths, and areas for improvement. You can always refer back to the instructions that we just went over. And then make sure that you just submit 1 survey for each person. So I'm going to go into preview mode here so that I can show this to you. So this is what the survey will look like. It's set up as a quiz, so there's 9 questions. So first you're going to type in the name of your team member. So just who's the person that you're actually completing this survey for, and it's just 1 person per survey. Question number 1, participation and contribution. So to what extent did this teammate contribute to group discussions and tasks? So how was their overall participation and contribution? So you can select excellent participation, good participation, adequate, minimal, or none. So you select based on how you felt this person performed in your group. Quality of work. How would you rate the quality of this teammate's work? Communication. So how effectively did the teammate communicate with the group? Question 5, how well did this teammate work with others and contribute to the overall team dynamic? Were they a good person to just work overall in a team? How did they collaborate as a team member? Responsibility and meeting deadlines. Did this teammate complete their assigned tasks on time and take responsibility for their work? Were they accountable? And then overall contribution. How would you rate this teammate's overall contribution to the group project? So just make sure you read through each of these responses as you go through this. Make sure you agree with whatever it is you're selecting. And then like this top one, this would be 5 points. This would be 4 points, 3, 2, and 1. And so what I'll do is I'm going to add up everyone's scores, and then I take everyone that has evaluated a single person and I just average those scores together to come up with a total. And then question 8, this is where you're going to write some actual examples for me. So, what do you think is this teammate's biggest strength or contribution? And provide an example. So, give me a written response about how this person contributed and what you felt like their biggest strength was overall as a teammate. And then question 9, what is one area where this teammate could improve or grow? So provide constructive feedback and suggestions. So these two questions, questions 8 and 9, I grade these based on how thorough and thoughtful your answers are. After you've completed all 9 questions, you'll submit it, and then you'll move on to evaluating the next person in your group. Once you've evaluated each person in your group, then you are done with this assignment. All right, so that is it as far as the peer evaluations go. Just make sure that if you have any questions about it, you can always come back and ask me. I have lots of office time set up, so you can always click on my calendar link and set up a time to meet with me. We can do a Google Meet to talk about it. But just let me know if you need anything. Feel free to reach out.